Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you enjoy the event as much as I do, with the great speakers and interesting learnings. Let me invite our experts to the panel. So it's Dr. Soeren Grabowski, Joao Perre Viana, Denis Dovgopolyi, Chakhoyan, and Vitaliy Sultan, Head of Electronic Channels Department at Kyivstar. Denis, my first question goes to you. Sorry for interrupting you from making the picture of our great audience. But the question for you is, they say that you are one of the most influential people in startup ecosystem, and you started developing startup ecosystem since for 10 years already. You launched the first Ukrainian incubator, and you launched VC fund Growth Up. So my question is, from your experience, what changed in startup ecosystem compared 10 years ago and now? What are the most important achievements that you can see in startup ecosystem in Ukraine?
Okay, thank you for your question. And the main differentiation point between Ukrainian ecosystem in 2005 and now, it's a success story. So for now, we have companies like Vyudel acquired by Google, some companies acquired by other the big companies. Ukrainian startups raised a lot of money, and for now, it's about $200 million for last 10 years. So it's a big numbers, and for now, we have the startup community. It consists of entrepreneurs, mentors, angels, Ukrainian funds, international funds, which visiting each maybe 1 week Ukraine and sharing experience and recruiting startups to invest. And actually, for now, we have guys to hire in startups for startups, because a few years ago, entrepreneurs, yes. But if you will form the team of startups, it's really was impossible here in Ukraine. So to hire at least 5 experienced team, you need to visit Europe, maybe United States. And the question is, it's better to be there to hire than to be in Ukraine. So for now, it's possible to do inside the country. And you can raise money, at least angel money, and you can raise institutional rounds, like from around a late seed to maybe early B here in Ukraine. And it's industry. Actually, 11 years ago, it was just few persons which decided to start these initiatives. Not the industry, but initiatives. For now, it's huge industry, and we are collecting a lot of people on startup crash test and iForum. iForum is the biggest event in Ukraine. This year, it collected 8K participants. It's really a huge number, and it's like a quarter of whole industry here in Ukraine. So it's industry.
Thank you, Denis. My next question goes to Andrew Chakhoyan, and let me tell a few words about Andrew. He led Eurasia department at World Economic Forum, so he has a great knowledge of CIS markets, as well as great expertise in management of innovations. Andrew, one of the major improvement levers is to emphasize and encourage corporations, corporates, governments, and startups and academia to collaborate and communicate. So what, in your opinion, are the most important actions different parties should do to boost the entrepreneurial culture in Ukraine?
Thank you, Yulia, for your question. If I were talking to the room of policymakers, I would probably recite Soeren's presentation to really give advice on what we should be trying to achieve. But maybe a short answer to this question and given the audience, I say it's about leading by example. We're not, we've commissioned this report, we engaged A.T. Kearney as Wimpelcom Group. It costs money, but we knew why we were doing it. We are leading by example. We believe in this cause, and we're looking into ecosystem. We're looking into a role we can play. The accelerator that you ran is a collaboration. It's an example again. It's not just theory. We're not simply saying, oh, we studied the issue, these are the recommendations. We are actually living the recommendation. We are in that boat together. We want you guys to be successful. Your success, as I mentioned earlier, is our success. And I wanted to quote Joao, who made his point very clear. There's three things to that. And I, looking back at our decision to engage ATK in studying this question, is perspective. Our company has it. In Amsterdam, in our HQ, all we think about is where we're going. How can we transform our telecom old operating model into this digital services providing company that we want to become? And this is just one of the steps. You also mentioned the WEF experience. Actually, when I was living in Geneva and was working on the innovation policies question, we actually commissioned a similar report from A.T. Kearney to look at Europe. And if you had to guess what's holding Europe back, you look at Silicon Valley, you have the giant companies emerging out of San Francisco. Europe has its own strong companies, but what's holding Europe back from scale? And one of the findings was not any different from the question we're facing here in Ukraine. Is where is that connecting point? How could company be engaged at every stage of the way, from the angel investment to scale? And this partnership, big established business and the small tech startups, is not, the strengths of it is not where it needs to be in Europe, as it is not in Ukraine, but it's further ahead in the US. And that's where Kyivstar, where Wimpelcom is stepping up to kind of sort out this issue. And maybe a last question, not necessarily related to what you asked me, but I think no panel is interesting as everybody agrees. And I wanted to take issue with what Joao said earlier. He said that learn from failure of others. The fail fast is not all that important. I think reflecting on this point, looking at myself in the mirror, I'm not an entrepreneur. I've joined a multi-billion-dollar multinational corporation. I'm happy where I am. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not taking risk. And the people who are willing to take risk, people that are able to fail, they're not afraid to fail. They learn from this experience and they go ahead and succeed. And I think, as much as we wish to learn from others, your own failure is the experience, is a badge of honor, as they call it in Silicon Valley. And once you have it, that means you can go on and get bigger things accomplished. But maybe Joao will respond back. Thank you.
Thank you. And actually, building on that, I want to ask the next question to Joao. So, as you mentioned, that we need to learn from mistakes of others, because your own mistakes are very expensive from all perspectives. So you Joao, you helped startups across the world. You helped entrepreneurs to succeed. From your worldwide experience, what lessons do you think Ukrainian entrepreneurs should learn, and what Ukraine should learn in order to switch to innovative model of economy?
Thank you. Thank you, Yulia, for the question. I will get back in a second. I think there is a secret for entrepreneurs, and I think it does not apply only to Ukraine. I think it's across the border, because I don't really see many differences between entrepreneurs in Ukraine, in Lisbon, in Madrid, or in Brazil. They are entrepreneurs. They want to change the world, period. That's it. But there is one thing that makes a huge difference, which is being humble. And it's related with the overconfidence. I mean, the moment you are humble, you are listening. And the moment you are listening, you are building up your strength. If you are overconfident, you are not listening to anyone because you know all the answers. So that's probably the first thing I would say, and I would advise, and by the way, I do advise Ukrainian entrepreneurs to be humble and be humble. And I think that there is a there's few Ukraines inside Ukraine, but there is one Ukraine that I touch basically, every week. I work with them, I teach them, I mentor them. I don't have much actually advice to give them. They are doing the right things. They are open to the world. They understood, first of all, that English is like an app that you download on your phone. English you download on your brain. It's nothing special. So English is your main language, and yes, you also speak Ukrainian and Russian, but you speak English. Okay, the world is your home. Great. So you get your backpack, if you don't have a better bag, and you go. I mean, I know people in this country that go every 3 months to US, and they live in a lobby of a hotel to make meetings. And this is incredible. I mean, these people are the bravest of all. So I don't have much advice here. It's just like, keep doing, because you are doing really well. So if you put together, if you're humble, if you're open to the world, okay, if you are curious, I think you have 3 things that, honestly speaking, adding up, flexibility, be positive, and perspective, I mean, you're always going to get much closer to the objective. Going back to you. Thank you. I was really sprinting on my presentation, okay? And that's dangerous when we are crossing so important topics and not trying to oversimplify. Honestly speaking, we could have used a little bit more time to go a little bit more in detail. Fail fast, learn fast is definitely important. Let me rephrase it. But if you have a project where the cost of failing, it's smaller, I would say, go for it. A small company, a small app, you do it, doesn't work, go on, try another one. I totally agree with you. But when you put your face on the company, when you get the money from your credit cards, the 3 Fs, full family and friends, you are at stake. You have to look at these people every day. I deal with people that fail, and fail hurts. So I cannot over-glorify failure. Sorry for that. I burned few companies. I'm not sure I use them as a badge. But, they are in my mind. Because, do you burn money? I ask this to my students. I challenge them on the first day of class. Pick up $1,000 and burn it here, right in front of me. I mean, they smile, they laugh at me. That's stupid. And I ask them why. Because no one burns money. So why do you burn money when you create a company? It's just because you don't see burning the money that it doesn't hurt? Yeah, it does hurt. So I do agree with you. If you can do it, if you can fail and learn fast, go for it. But minimize your impact, because you have to take the burden. You have to take the burden. So be smart.
Thank you, Joao. Thank you for your inspiring speech. We talk a lot, Andrew talked about it, Joao talked about it, that it's very important to establish collaboration between corporates and startups. And my next question goes to Vitaliy, who is representative of Kyivstar. And what do you think mobile operators like Kyivstar can do to help startups?
You know, I will answer in not very ordinary way, probably, and not very expected. The thing that we are talking about this in this audience with you is actually the sign that we, as a big business, recognize that we are in trouble. We are in trouble of finding new ideas within organization, of making these ideas, turning them into products. Because it's quite ridiculous, but even if bright new idea appears within walls of big company, usually it's just being killed within months, because all the environment of processes of big corporation is against it. So it's just not surviving. So answering the question, what is the startup culture for Kyivstar? What is the startups for Kyivstar? This is like a vital thing, because without big new ideas, the telecom will not survive, and everyone recognizes this. Now we are doing well, we have revenues, everything is excellent. But looking for 3-5 years from now, everything will change. We know it. And that's what colleagues were describing today in their presentations. And I want to add also to what Denis said, that my opinion that what changed during these 10 years is that now big business started not emulating interest in startup industry, yeah, in new. It's starting to really need it, yeah, and that's starting to being ready to invest. That's the first signs, because not so more success stories when big business in Ukraine invested in a startup and made like a joint business. But now with this endeavor that Kyivstar approach, it's signs that we are starting doing this. So in simple answer is that without startups, without new ideas outside of our walls of our organization, we will not survive. So this is crucial for us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vitaliy. My last question goes to Soeren. Soeren, what do you think, like, what are roles of startups in digital strategy of the company? Building on what Vitaliy just said.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at mobile operators and you go back maybe 10 years in time, mobile operators had this hubris that they could do everything, right? I mean, they were owning the networks, they were great in marketing and sales, and of course they could also invent all the great products, right? And I mean, the people who are long-term in the mobile industry knows that when Vodafone was launching this Vodafone Live stuff, I mean, there was a big hype that they would have the next big thing, and I mean, they really thought that they can basically gather the entire environment from the handsets down to all the services. And when you look at the outcome, what was coming out, I mean, it was a total disaster, right? I mean, there was just nothing. I mean, this Vodafone Live was a disaster, then there were other products from other operator groups that were all disasters because they were not built to the customer needs, nobody was interested in that. And I mean, when you look, for instance, at the iPhone of today, I remember, let's say, presentation of mobile operators, maybe some 10 years ago. I mean, they had some gimmicks in their presentation. They were rather looking the same as the iPhone, with the only distinction that the iPhone was not built by a mobile operator. Yeah, so, I mean, all these companies have now basically found out that these kind of innovations, they cannot be done in an operator, because operators are too process-oriented, they are, at the end, too small. I mean, they don't have the right amount of customers, and they have no innovation culture, right? Because, I don't know, in the Silicon Valley, there are 1,000, 1 million, or how many companies, and a couple of them will succeed, yeah? While the operator has just a few guys who can do something. So I personally believe that the startup community can help a lot for operators to build their business in one country, because operators have also a strength in the local platform and the local knowledge. I mean, that is definitely one thing they can do. And in particular, the groups have the advantage they can take startup companies from one country, it might be Pakistan, might be Bangladesh or whatever, and can bring them to the world, yeah, to all the markets that they're basically in. So I personally think that can be a major pillar of the future success of the companies. It will not be everything, but that can be a big thing to get innovative somehow and participate and come up with new innovative services that would not be feasible if they are doing it alone.
Thank you. With the last, Denis?
I want to add something to Vitaly's speech. So during this 10 years, we did some project with a big corporation in our startup community, but last years, just two main reasons to cooperate with us were from enterprise side. First, it's to reach startup community to sell them something. Second is to add innovation visibility to the brand. But now we have interest from three main directions. First, they want to acquire the team. Second, they want to acquire a product. And fourth, they want to cooperate with the startups on a revenue share base or maybe any other. So it's totally different situation. It's changes for maybe last 2 years. It's dramatically change.
Interesting. Thank you, Denis. With the last question from my side, I want to open the floor for the question from the audience. Let's start our Q&A session, and let me give you some pleasant news. The best question from the audience will get a 3G pack from Kyivstar. So be proactive, and you're welcome to ask questions. Okay.
Hello, my name is Andrew, and my question is for Andrew and Vitaliy, first of all. Do you have the flexibility, positive and perspective to work with a team whom project maybe will diverse the interests of your company in short term, but in long term will help your company? Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Let me try that. I think when you ask this question, the two company names come to mind. It's Nokia and Kodak. Yeah, and Vitaliy said it already. It's what on every CEO's mind. Those folks invented, Kodak invented digital camera. And then they understood that if they were to launch it, and then it will eat into their profit. What did they do? They did not launch it. They felt they'll stick with their business model, their profitability model, and look what they're at today. You know, Nokia invented the smartphone. Same story. So we look in the mirror. We know this is a big risk, and we know we need to do better. But is it easy? That's a separate question. Maybe I'll have Vitaliy handle that part.
I think I can answer quite straight. We are looking on partnership or on investment, yeah, exactly like investors looking on a startup market, yeah. So if we will invest in figures, what was mentioned today, what you can quantify, and when you can show that this long-term, what you're saying, that promising long-term investment, long-term benefit, revenue, this is like we have to believe in it. Yeah? Because if you just nice guy and probably with greatest idea, yeah, corporation will not approach without quantifying it. Maybe this is the answer.
Thank you. Other questions? Please.
So, hello, my name is Vladimir. I'm real glad to be here, and my question is more technical. I would like to know if it's not a secret information regarding the future of content delivery networks in Ukraine. So we know, all of us know Akamai, all of us know, for example, CloudFront. What our telecoms do in this area, and what are the plans to how to deliver the content, especially for mobile devices, because the content should be delivered fast. And so what are the plans, how our telecoms and especially Kyivstar is going to develop this area? Thank you.
This question I cannot answer directly. But I will give you some signs probably which will guide the answer. Our colleagues are here because actually we are not alone. We are as Kyivstar, part of Wimpelcom group, which counts 15 operators. And all trends which we have now within corporation, within this business, is despite of startups looking for new opportunities, is what is called centralization, globalization. Yeah, when we're trying to build something which could be reused across different companies. So, answer to your question raises, I think, another question: what Wimpelcom, big company for 15 operators, will provide in short term as a content delivery platform. So it will happen, but when exactly and what exactly, unfortunately, I cannot provide answer to you.
Please.
Hi, my name is Gleb, and my question is addressed to Joao Perre. We are talking about the startups here, and you talked about the failures, and of course we know startups, they sometimes fail. So what's your advice for those who fail, and what's the best and the most optimized way to regain the perspective in this world of possibilities and high risks everywhere? What would you advise to the entrepreneurs in case they do the mistakes? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Let me just add some numbers. 75% of startups fail, to be more exact. So actually, the numbers that succeed are really short. It's a numbers game. And I think all the players know that. Advice: if you survive the failure, and when I mean surviving is all the side impact that will have in your life, I think the difference will come from your resilience. Because if you are really an entrepreneur, believe me, it's not going to be 1 or 10 failures that are going to stop you from doing what you want to do, because you will do it sooner or later. And these are the moments that men and women are put to test, and you understand what you are made of. I mean, you have to go through.
I want to add something. So we are investors, and we are investing early stage. So we have just 3 criteria to invest in startups. Like, first criteria, it's a team. Second criteria, it's a team. Third criteria, it's a team. So for now, we did more than 300 investment to the startup for last 10 years in cash, in services, and so on. But no one idea goes to market with originally stage. So one of the main skill of the team is to change the idea, to adopt it to market, to use methodology like customer development, lean startups, and so on. So the best way to fail is to test idea on the audience before start development of the product. So we called it paper pivot. So you need just paper and pen, and you can present your idea of product, idea of business, idea of problem to solve with your potential customer. If they will return you negative response, You need know to start the development and to go to the market.
Could I also? I think this is my favorite topic.
I think we have a favorite question here.
No, but I've had a privilege of taking a class when I was studying in Boston, where we had a venture capitalist who backed a number of biotech companies that made it really big. He was himself made millions, if not more, and he said the same thing. He said, we invest in teams. Ideas are dime a dozen. No one cares, you know, it's the people. And a classmate of mine challenged this gentleman. He said, if it's all about people, if a group of folks shows up and they have zero ideas, they don't know what they're going to do, but you recognize it's a strong team, would you just give them money? Guess what he said? That of course, he will give them money, even if they don't know what they're going to work on. If they're the right people, they'll get funded.
Small example. One of the famous Ukrainian entrepreneurs with success story went to me and asked, okay, Denis, I want to start new businesses. Will you join us? Yes. Would you like to know what the business? No. Would you like to know the terms and conditions of the cooperation? No, you know the rule. So it was Igor Anchishkin with Zakaz UA. So just after exiting Vyudel. So it's not about ideas, it's not about markets, it's about people.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead, you next.
My name is Bogdan, and my question is to representatives of Kyivstar. Why such companies as Kyivstar didn't use such potential, such resources, such opportunities that they have? For example, my mother is a client of Kyivstar, and Kyivstar make a personal proposal which didn't fit her. So they know her geolocation, what features they use, and so why?
I completely understand the question. I will extend it. Yeah. So you're a big company, 26 million. More than half of population. You must know everything about your audience. You must know you're so huge. Yeah, that's the statement. That's like you think it should be like this. And why you cannot simply predict accurately one offer for one person and these 25 million persons to fit her? Yeah.
But
yeah.
you can group
no,
of people.
No, I'm not opposing you. I'm just restating what you said, extending it. So, answer is simple. Kyivstar is just learning to do this. Kyivstar looks like, you know, like when you came to a forest, yeah, and you see the biggest animals there, yeah. And maybe this very kind animal and so, but because of its size, you think that this is the wisest animal in this forest, yeah. It happens that not, yeah, that this animal also learns, and that's good sign, and that's why also we're discussing it here about startups and everything. But I can state as a responsible for this direction that we are far away from making like a cutting edge what Volt is already doing with the audience, what mobile operators and digital companies are doing with the audience, how they're working with. This big data schools, it was just mentioned, yeah, which was started and graduates we had this year. That's also like a first attempt when we are learning, we are involving other people and bright minds from young audience help us and work together on a really complex problems. And what you're saying is a real complex problem. And other statement which I want to add is that we are eager to decide this equation, We are eager to make it, and not just to earn money. Yeah? Our current primary aim is actually customer satisfaction. That's the statement. So what we are wanting to do, we don't want to send a single message to 25 million person and hope that 1% of them will hit the audience. We want to send this 1%, yeah, very precise. And I hope next time, maybe in half a year, your relatives will be amongst this. Yeah, maybe that's the answer.
A half a second comment. As our company, Wimpelcom Group, is undergoing its transformation, we just announced our top priorities, and it's not customer focused, it's not consumer centric, it's customer obsessed. This is what our CEO puts down as a #1 criteria for our operations. So whatever we do going forward, group wide, will be around that question. So hopefully. Your mother will get exactly the offer she wants.
So why it was called personal proposal? Why, which it wasn't?
Actually, it was, you can say what was the intent, and our conclusion was that we hoped that this was really personal proposal. Yeah. So no, that's not. I want to make it accurate. That's not like your mother was one of 25 millions whom we send this SMS or something. No, we really tried to make segmentation. We really tried to target and to make offer which we thought should be personal. But because we are not still there with technology, with experts on board, we are just learning, as I said. That's why we missed. Yeah, that was the hit that missed. That's why. So we thought that it's personal.
Thank you. I think we will take one more question from the audience, and then Denis Dovgopolyi decided to join the competition and fight for Kyivstar prize, so he will ask the next question.
So, dear panelists, my name is Alina, and I want to, first of all, to thank all of you for your great speeches. I just jotted down like 7 pages with your pieces of advice. I don't want to take your time, but sitting here, I all the time think about your advices. And as we are here to kind of get motivation and to be inspired, I want just to recollect the example of great startupper like Mark Zuckerberg. If we look back at his story, we can remember that when he started to develop Facebook, he invited 5 friends, 5 colleagues to start this business, but only 2 agreed. And now these 2 are the billionaires, famous billionaires in the world. So we can understand that even such great titans, people in our world, they like have this flexibility, optimism, and perspective. And I'm really inspired by your speech, Mr. Jean-Pierre. I forgot your continuation.
Wow.
Sorry, it's hard for Ukrainian. So I wanted to ask you. I observed that in Ukraine we have a lot of potential, but we lack of real mentorship. And as you are the CEO of this walk-in mentorship, is it possible, for example, for Ukraine to listen, maybe for our young generation to listen to your pieces of advice and do not give up and continue, because nowadays we have maybe we can, like, as you say, I mean, the speaker who represents Kyivstar today, that in your company you face challenges of ideas, of lack of ideas, but nowadays we have such great startups that are famous worldwide. It is ecoism, and the second one is ecoism is actually Ukrainians from Kyiv Polytech University. They are now supported by Richard Branson, his program, and the second one is Pitiol. It is agro startup that was kind of by Barack Obama. he was very, how to say in English, so he supported this project, let's say it shortly. And could you please give a piece of advice? Is it possible to get this course of mentorship from you? Thank you.
Thank you, Alina.
Thank you for your question. Your name, sorry?
Alina.
Alina. Well, this event is sponsored by Kyivstar, so I'll be very brief. Look, walking mentorship is it's a very simple way to try to do things outside that are not possible to do inside office environment. I've been mentoring for 15, 20 years, and I know that you can go as far as possible inside an office. Then people go back to their lives. What I do is simply, I take people, small groups, 10 people, I take them for 1 full week to walk 120 kilometers, and they cannot go home during the week. So they need to face certain things, and they immerse into the process. A couple of weeks ago, I had Ukrainians on the group, so you are very much welcome. Now, to your question, which is the really important thing. You all know the borders of Ukraine, right? I mean, you go to the map and you know who you have around, you know the distance, you know all of that. That's probably the biggest challenge you all have to face right now. Because one thing is the borders that are on the map. And those, Alina, I'm very sorry, you cannot change them. You have to live with them, and you have to learn, actually, to take everything you can out of that. But there's one thing you can change, which is forget the geographical borders. Forget them. That's the biggest challenge all of you have right now. The world is your home. And if you see it as such, there's nothing you cannot do. Nothing. You will get mentorship from anywhere. Anywhere. I give mentorship every day by Skype. I'm not near that person. They just reach out. Okay? So you need to do that. You need to change the borders of your country. And the borders of your country basically need to become the whole planet. If you do that, there is nothing you cannot do. I repeat, that's the biggest challenge this country is facing right now. And if many of you do that, you will just pull the whole country after you. And suddenly you go, you know, ahead 10, 20 years, you look back and you even smile. You say, like, that was a problem? It's not a problem anymore. You need to look forward. You know, you remember my story with the airplane? No airplane stays up there, right? They have to go. So you, Ukraine, you have to go. There is no way. You have to go and land it safely. So change the borders of your country. Make it bigger. Okay? I hope it helps.
Very inspiring. Denis?
Before the question to the Kyivstar team, I want to add something. Last year it did 120 flights. So it's a really huge number, believe me. So you can meet here inside a few of our partners and friends like Max and Alina from Chesopos. It's a really good team. They are looking for experience for Ukrainian entrepreneurs and organizing events in Chesopos. We're adding some smart guys from Ukraine and abroad. So you can meet the experience here in Ukraine the first. Second, Ukrainians starting at 2005 visiting a lot of international conferences, and believe me, every person bring at least 30 business cards from each day of conferences. It's a huge network. So just be more active to find experience. And it's pretty simple, but you need to make first steps. Every week, at least 2 persons with experience from abroad visiting Ukraine, and you can meet them. You need to find it in Facebook, in public events, and over your networks. So just do it. And my question to the Kyivstar team. The main problem of the enterprises, it's a decision process. So you're told about investment to the startups, and do you have proved process to invest? Because from my perspective, it's really hard to prove this decision over the board of directors. Maybe you have ideas, process, or you will solve this problem by the way.
It depends on the magnitude. Yeah, because if you thinking about investing, making huge investment in a really bright idea with which you already quantified well, yeah, and you know that that's will be market. Yeah, okay, but answer is simple. So now we are inventing the process because for big company, regulated, and why it's regulated, to be stable and to provide to those who already invested in this company, to board, to who represent the shareholders, to provide stable revenue growth. So that's not a risk business. This is not entrepreneurship, not venture business. Now we're changing ourselves from inside, trying to solve simultaneously two streams. One stream is how to be such a, let's say, flexible, being able to invest in new ideas, to try to fail, to experiment, and so on. And another, in same time, which we have to sustain, because we are operating company, to provide revenue which expected by shareholders. So we like inventing from inside in big corporation, and that's not only for Kyivstar, that's all for all these 15 companies, inventing the process how to fulfill the expectations of, let's say, stability, in same time providing the certain chances for disruption, for certain chances of changing how the telecom work now. So the process, we have a draft, yeah, and we are now will experiment, and we really invite everyone to try their ideas. And I also wanted to add one thing which is connected, addressing the questions of a lady. That I agree that geographical borders may be not so important in our world. And I agree with Denis that a lot of events already happening here in Ukraine, and a lot of actual potential mentors and stars are coming, and more, I think, each year will come. But what I observe from my corner, yeah, is that most of ideas, most of objectives which new entrepreneurs with their of startups are addressing is how to exit these borders, how to exit these geographical borders, because market potential, they think, and they probably right, is not so huge, and Ukraine is like a jump start usually, and Denis can confirm, jump start for startups whose aim is to fly away, yeah, and to earn somewhere. What is the opposite, and that's maybe changing the mind completely, is how to address these thousands of needs of this country, of these people, changing this economy, yeah, and trying to make it like successful here and then scale outside. It may sound a little bit, how to say, not grounded, yeah, but that's how we try to educate ourselves, at least in Kyivstar, with a mind of, let's say, way of thinking, yeah. And maybe that's the answer.
Thank you very much.
Do I have a second to add? I think the question is really well placed, and the answer I have is it takes two to tango. You know, we just admitted that we recognize that either you are disrupted or you are a disruptor. We know that, we've internalized that. And now it's on, the burden's on you to come to us with an idea we can't say no to. You need to think of Kyivstar as that client, and you need to meet the needs of that client. You need to come with a product that's irresistible. No one can say, wow, we will let that one pass. It's and you know, this whole the springboard, the jumping off board. It's true that a lot of businesses need to start here and scale, and then they think big from day one. But I wanted to go back to my earlier comment. For us, every market is unique, and every market needs those unique solutions that will work there, and that's what you need to focus on. You know, bring a solution to Kyivstar that is not another messenger. There are already you know, 5 or 7 we're all using, and there's no way to actually know which messenger is the one that's buzzing any minute on your phone. But think about that. Think about what is it that you're offering, and how is your offer is the one no one can say no to.
Just to finish with deep confusion, I cannot resist to say this comment. Because, you know, working with big corporations already for many years, you know, you are on the front line. I'm on the front line. I can see it every day. The problem is there. And there is one thing is being proved year after year. True innovation only happens bottom up. I mean grassroots. It's, you know, normal people, you know, working in basements, working in garage with great ideas. That's where true great innovation grows. And we know year after year, sorry, Kyivstar, but it's true, that top-down innovation doesn't work. It doesn't work. I mean, look across the border, Skolkovo, billions. It doesn't work. It's top-down. Okay, no prejudice. No. It was the last comment of leaving Steve Jobs. They asked him, what do you think about Skolkovo? And he said, it will not work, because innovation is the other way around. So the biggest challenge big companies have right now, it's probably 2. You need, but you need to change inside, deeply inside. I mean, I understand you are looking for innovation outside. I work in the last 2 years with vertical clusters, with vertical accelerators. Bad news. They are failing. We are not succeeding. It's very hard, because in the end of the day, we are still doing it top down. It's just, you know, in my neighbor's house, but it's still top down. You need to change it. Why? Because some of the best ideas, they live in the heads of the people inside your company. And we need to find, you know, ways that this is organic, it's dynamic, that they can come, you know, from the front line, you know, the lady on the desk, which will have the, you know, the best, the future next great idea for Kyivstar. And I'm not sure necessarily from, you know, some guys outside. Let me just conclude, because of one simple reason. If you're really great, if you really know where you're going, I can swear to you, you're not going to partner with anyone. You're just going to do it yourself, for sure. If you are there for the money, well, then anything goes, right, for the money. I didn't want to disturb, but it's really my opinion.
I think that's the aim, to challenge and to disturb. That's okay. Especially, so, but I will provide an answer. Of course, we will review the contract, but nevertheless. So what's the answer? We're providing here the scale. Yeah, that's why we are inventing and trying to make an incubator. And as I said, that we recognize that we are not able to reinvent ourselves. We are struggling. We are really trying to do this. We are in process, this painful process. But our own beliefs of this reinvention is not disruption. This is like optimization. Yeah. But what we can provide to this garage, to these cashiers which you mentioned, yeah, we can provide a scale, because those who still afraid, yeah, to make this first step, and they simply don't know. Maybe they have the idea. Yeah, this student who just yesterday graduated, and he now like is standing and saying, okay, whether I'm going to a corporation for work, That's a form of slavery, modern slavery. Yeah? Or I am become a bright new entrepreneur, but who will invest? Only in case that there is a really quantified, and so that's why on this stage he needs a mentorship. He needs someone who will guide him. And we as a company is aiming to provide certain scale, and that's one of the pillars which Denis mentioned, what big companies are looking for last 2 years. We partnering with those ideas who can provide a certain benefit to millions of our users who are already with Kyivstar, in our example. And if one of those 10 startups in within HaTech, hopefully, will provide this benefit to our audience, to these millions of users, that will be a great success for us. And that's not top-down, yeah, but rather not bottom-up. That's something in the middle, because we are partnering, yeah, we are providing a benefit. And I completely agree with your statement that the brightest ideas, the brightest, let's say, energetic startuppers will not partner probably. They will try because they're eager to realize the idea without sharing it with anyone, because they're usually afraid of it, yeah, because they're thinking that this is the most disruptive idea for this world, and it's very big barrier to just come to mentor, come to investor and say, that's what I want to do. And that's the barrier. Denis may, of course, say the opposite to this.
Actually not. At this case, I'm on your side. So I know the Kyivstar team for last maybe 8 months, and it's interesting because they are learning. I know the Kyivstar team visited a lot of points in Europe to acquire experience from the colleague, from enterprises, from actually VDNH team, which running this accelerator together with Kyivstar consists of really great people like me, like Alina Kalibaba. Alina did at least 2 accelerating programs for venture funds. Julia has a great experience in consulting services, and she knows enterprises from inside. Maxi Kover started the biggest entrepreneurship community here in Ukraine around the Chesopos. It's like, it's a good point to meet right people. So I think our team and Kyivstar team will able to build the great story. Because Kyivstar can hear, can understand the problem, and can make the right steps for us.
Thank you very much. I think that this discussion, very fruitful one, is very complementary to what we do at Within HaTech, because we are exactly that platform that marry garage entrepreneurs and big corporations with their resources and opportunities. So don't forget to apply. I know that we have a lot of questions from audience, but you can ask them after our official part in person. Now I want to thank all the participants for the great discussion and a lot of learnings. Thank you very much. And I think that one last question. I think that the winner is Lev and Alina. I think that Kyivstar is very generous, and it can extend the prize to 2 great questions. So thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.